Well, the San Francisco Jazz Festival is underway and will run through December 18th with an exciting lineup of diverse artists and music, including Cuban Tiempo Libre. Well, the new San Francisco Jazz Center opens next year in Hayes Valley. Well, it broke ground in May, but recently I spoke with SFJAZZ founder and executive director Randall Kline about what's coming up. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, especially near the beginning of the season, which is going to go on for another few months. Let me just ask you, after 29 years, is there still excitement about a new season?
I hate to admit it, but yes. No, I mean everything. You know, we've got a lot of shows this weekend. It's what makes it interesting. I mean, it's always new artists. It's always, you know, something to learn. So it's, yeah, no, I get excited like it was the first concert.
How do you interpret your own direction in terms of being the father of the jazz movement in the Bay Area, in the preservation of the old and the introduction of the new?
Well, it's a balance, because, you know, part of what jazz is about moving forward, but also part of that moving forward is honoring the legacy and history of it. So, you know, as an organization, we've always taken the stance of trying to look a little more forward than backward, because this is a particular art form that celebrates growth and change. And for us, it's not just my personal taste, but it's the taste particularly of who our audiences are here in the Bay Area. Tomorrow night, for instance, Esperanza Spalding is performing, you know, and she's a young artist, a bassist, and a singer. And you know, it's extraordinary to see someone come on the scene again and get everyone excited about music and jazz again. So.
You use she and that she's a bassist. I was a disc jockey with those legacy people way back then. It was very unusual for a woman, number one, to play bass, and then number two, to be recognized as a headliner.
Yeah, things are changing a lot for women in jazz. There still is not a lot of instrumentalists, and you know, remarking about Esperanza as a bass player, it's unusual, but that's where she went to the Berklee College of Music in her teens, got a scholarship there. She grew up in Portland, and immediately she fell into a sort of advanced scene, and you know, she was playing, you know, before she graduated, with the top jazz musicians, and after she left school, she was working in Joe Lovano's band, and she was an in-demand bass player, and then, you know, not long after that was on the faculty there. So you know, she's on the faculty at Berklee right now still. You know, she just won the Grammy Award for Best New Artist, not Best New Jazz Artist, Best New Artist. And she happens to be an instrumentalist in jazz as well, too. It's very unusual, and it's a great thing to see.
Then am I a happy fly. If I live or if I die.
You give these wonderful programs in venues all over the city. It was a new concept, at least for me, when I first heard how SFJAZZ would operate, because we're used to going to, you know, festivals in New York where people stay in one venue for a long while. Was it difficult for you to get people used to the idea that you could have a festival and it didn't have to, like Monterey?
Yeah, it was always the kind of the festival that wasn't a festival in that sense, because you know how people think of festivals are Monterey or Newport, and the idea that you're going to be in one place for a weekend. And what we did, what was a little different though, was take the view that San Francisco as an urban area, what would an urban festival be like? And really what it is more like a performing arts series sort of compressed into a into a festival period of time. It's starting to get drawn out, and as you know, we launch our new project and building our own place, we're going to be back to one place again. But you know, we've really taken advantage of all the jewels of the Bay Area, these beautiful venues that we've had, and trying to match the performers with the appropriate venue, and it's been a lovely thing.
What are names that people my age would recognize that you were booking, and what are the names that are going to draw the big crowd for the new folks?
And the names you would recognize would be Ahmad Jamal, McCoy Tyner, and also big audiences as well too. And then there's, you know, younger Brad Meldau, Joshua Redman are playing as a duo, a younger skewed crowd.
So what are you going to do in this new building? I mean, what's the main thing that you're excited about other than not having to run around town?
The main thing is really establishing a sense of a cultural home for jazz and a community center for jazz, much like the established arts institutions that are here and in every city. You know, what's really most gratifying about, you know, realizing this project is that, you know, we're going to be down the street from the Symphony Hall and the Opera House and the ballet's headquarters for an art form that's relatively new. It's a great thing to do, and what we're going to do differently in the building is, you know, we're going to obviously honor the legacy of jazz, but a lot more around education. We're going to be developing more and more things with our high school programs and middle school programs, and have a chance to sort of develop younger musicians through the building. Of course, we're going to be presenting tons of music.
So America still respects jazz. Nobody believes it's really dead. They've been telling me that for 30 years or so.
It's exciting, and you know, this is like I said earlier, you know, it's an art form that has always regenerated, and it's always been about growing. So, you know, there's more, you know, what's different actually now, I was going to say there's more musicians than ever before because there's formal training programs, something that was very different than what jazz was 40, 50 years ago. And so there's lots of young players learning in a different way than musicians learned then, but there's extraordinary young talent out there, and a lot of it.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. Season runs through December,
yes,
and just a mix of all kinds of folks if you like the sound of jazz. Thank you, Randall Kline.
Thank you, Belva.